Emerging from the Vietnam War, the Bell Huey family of aircraft is a well-sorted and veteran helicopter, originally focused on medevac and utility purposes, but the evolving state of the war prompted technology to be forced to its limit. This caused the Huey to evolve into a more dynamic role to fight its foes. Demands for heavier firepower caused Bell helicopters to birth the AH-1 Cobra in the process, providing heavy firepower to the troops on the ground. Today, we'll be looking at Bell's most infamous helicopters, the UH-1 and AH-1 as they form the Huey dynasty. Hi, I'm Enigma, and today we're looking into the Bell family of helicopters, focusing on the UH1 Iroquois and the AH-1 Cobra. The Bell UH1 Iroquois, nicknamed Huey, is a utility military helicopter developed by Bell in the early 1950s, starting as a project from a US Army requirement for a medevac helicopter, but it eventually managed to find itself fit for many roles, including troop transport, a gunship, command and control, a cargo transport, search and rescue, and reconnaissance. The Iroquois was first used in the Vietnam War very famously. It's arguably the most well-known piece from the conflict. First deployed in 1962, it could complete nearly any mission and role you could throw at it, showcasing its excellence in the utility role. During the conflict, just over 7,000 UH-1s were flown, with 3,305 destroyed. Despite the heavy losses, the UH-1 proved its resilience and effectiveness, becoming an enduring symbol of the conflict. The famous nickname Huey for the Iroquois originates from its original designation, HU-1. Even though the designation was later changed to UH-1, the nickname Huey stuck and became widely recognized. The helicopter is powered by the Lycoming T53L13 turboshaft engine, which could produce 1,400 shaft horsepower but was limited to 1,100. This was warmly received for its performance in comparison to the competing aircraft for the contract, which only fitted piston engine-based power plants. Its rotor was a two-bladed design, chosen for its ease of storage. However, this did make the helicopter more prone to vibrations, but it also made its distinctive thuk-thuk noise that's particularly noticeable during descent and turning maneuvers. In the Vietnam era of the Huey's deployment, it would typically feature an armament payload of M134 7.62mm miniguns, Mark 40 FR rocket pods, and a 7.62mm M60 machine gun on a swivel mount for the crew to use as a door gun. And this was all mounted on what's called a helicopter armament subsystem, mounted on each side of the helicopter symmetrically. UH-1, nicknamed the Cobra or Huey Cobra, was a single-engine attack helicopter designed by Bell in the 1960s as part of the Huey family. It was rapidly designed using many of the Iroquois' parts, including its engine, transmission and rotor system, maintaining that signature Huey sound. The idea of an attack helicopter came from the Algerian War, where the French forces mounted various weapons onto their helicopters as the conflict went on. Bell observed this and created a mock-up called the Iroquois Warrior, which was based on components from the UH-1B. It was designed from the ground up to be a dedicated attack aircraft. It was developed to be a gunship, as per the US Army's finding in Vietnam. It featured two stubby wings out the side for mounting of armament, a gun turret under the chin, and an armoured cockpit for two crew, being a pilot and a co-pilot/gunner. The helicopter featured an entirely redesigned, sleek and thin design, like a jet fighter's. Allegedly, this was to make it harder to hit with small arms fire. However, I cannot prove that in any way. However, it does make it look incredibly cool. The early production models of the helicopter were even slicker, as they had retractable landing gear. However, this was removed to give the guys in it a bit more survivability if they needed to do a hard landing. The cockpit was an unusual design for the time as well, with the two crew of the helicopter sat in line with each other, with the pilot in the back and the gunner in the front, because the front part of the cockpit had more visibility. Each position in the cockpit had full flight controls, with both crew members being full pilots. The Cobra was never intended to take a hit, as it was intended to be manoeuvring around the battlefield as fast as it could. However, a particular weakness of the Cobra were man-pads. The Cobra was also never intended to be left alone to do its thing, as typically there were multiple Cobras and sometimes a reconnaissance helicopter to point out targets for the Cobra beforehand, with the reconnaissance helicopter and the Cobra working together to perform hunter-killer missions. The Cobra could fit either two 7.62 miniguns or two 40mm grenade launchers, or one of each, in its chin turret. It could carry up to 19 70mm unguided rockets on its wings, or an additional 7.62 or 20mm minigun either side. Some later variants included ATGMs like the TOW, anti-tank guided missile. The Huey remains one of the most iconic helicopters, with its unmistakable sound and versatile capabilities. After their service in Vietnam, the UH-1 and AH-1 continued to be used by various countries worldwide, cementing their legacy as a reliable and adaptable aircraft. Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like on the video to let me know I spent my time wisely. Also, to make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any content, as I post weekly polls to my community tab for voting on what content I should be making next. Thanks for watching, and don't die.